Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ready, Set, Thrive. I am your host, Stacey Soleil. I am the Marketing and Technology Director with West, a Williston Financial Group company. And today I have with me Kevin Studeville, who is the founder of effectiveagents.com. We were just off studio having some really great conversations about how this project came about 10 years ago and all of the journeys that have happened since then. So, Kevin, welcome, and very excited to have you here to have this conversation.
Great to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So could you do me a favor and just kind of give us a little bit of background? You and I were diving in a little bit about the backstory, but let's give the viewer version of how Effective Agents came to be.
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, my mother had a personal issue, death in the family, and needed to sell a home. And we were in the middle of a really major downturn. She had gone on the market with an agent, was unsuccessful, and it was a pretty specific property type. So I literally just dove into sales data, and it took almost a half a day, and gave her a list of a couple agents that I thought were actually capable based on what they'd done over the last 6 to 8 months at that point. And that agent actually sold the house. And that was 2008, 2009. So it might not seem like that big of a deal, but to sell, it was a waterfront property, and it was right after a couple of hurricanes in Florida. So it was just a tough sale.
Right.
So, and that's kind of like what laid the groundwork for Effective Agents.
So you had this personal experience, and then that created a concept and an idea. So you kind of had your aha moment, and you thought, wow, if I could somehow systemize this and create a platform that would replicate all of the actions and work that I did on my own, this would be really beneficial to everybody who's trying to buy a home or sell a home,
absolutely.
or whatever the case. Yeah. So that's very cool. So is your background in tech prior to creating?
Yeah, I was a real estate broker for years, and I was in the real estate business in Florida, and I had a design and development firm, coincidentally, and when real estate sort of started to fade out as a viable, job in 2007, 8, 9, I really obviously just focused on web development. Once things started to kind of pick back up, Effective Agents was kind of just an obvious connection. I had spent so long with with my developers, my designers, and it just made sense.
Yeah, that's really cool. I always admire people that have the. I'm more of the connector and the figure out how to finish things and get things done. But I've never been like that big idea, that concept, and figure out how to make this unique idea come into this big project. So I am always in a great admiration of getting a chance to talk to people like yourself. So now I'm assuming that you're using a certain feature, a certain. What are you using to create this ability to figure out who is going to be the best possible agent for a consumer?
Yeah, so every time a user makes a request on our site, it essentially generates an auction. And we've been doing this for over a decade, and there's 18,000 agents that are on platform. Over 98% of those agents have been invited by one of my staff. And we have a really rigorous sort of like checklist of all the criteria that an agent needs to meet. So in essence, when someone makes a request on our site, what happens is agents are technically bidding against each other for the business with their actual sales performance. And we're mostly looking at the number of transactions that are similar to our subject transaction over the last 12 months or whatnot.
Interesting. So it's a very very unique algorithm that's able to align all of that data to get those measurements and that accurate data.
And we're dialing into on proprietary stuff. We have our own conversion data on our side that we look at. We evaluate how quickly agents open our emails. If they're quick to respond to us, they're probably quick to respond to our users, and that's what we're looking for. It's all sorts of other little, your days on markets, your average sale prices, and stuff like that. We're looking at I would imagine, like in a large metro, I would imagine there's a few 100,000 considerations that the system calculates on the fly.
Wow. That's crazy. So as I heard you say that, if a realtor is likely to respond to your platform, that might be indicative of their response time to a consumer. Now, is that once they've already opted into your platform?
Exactly.
Okay, because I was going to say, as you're in the marketing process, like, I don't know if any of us are really opening any of our emails that often.
No, well, I mean, at this point, it's relatively rare for us to bring agents in, but that top tier, that top fraction of 1% is always a moving target, and we'll have new agents that kind of grow and become leaders in their market, and then when they show up in our screens, we basically ask them to come in.
Right.
Most of the time they're pretty receptive because we work on a referral basis, and it's fairly common in real estate. But gosh, just a tiny fraction of agents that are on the platform just asked to be on. Usually it's us pulling them in.
Right. So let's talk about that. I really want to sort of segment this conversation into two halves today, because there's two different experiences with this platform. One is the real estate agent, as far as who gets invited to be a part of this network and how that comes to be. And then the second part of the conversation is we'll talk about the user, the homeowner or the home buyer, how the platform works for them. So let's go ahead and start by talking about the real estate agent. You said that it's an invite process based on what metrics are you looking at? What qualifications?
So we would make an invitation only if we had a referral to hand off. So we are going to look for an agent to have at least 20 transactions within the last 12 months. And some of these things change based on the metro. So if we're talking about a town of 200 people in Oklahoma, the criteria that we have to use to find a top agent in a market that's so thin is totally different than if we're looking for an agent in Los Angeles.
Correct. Right.
But we're looking at how well they rank within the agent pool. Like, let's say there's 20,000 agents in the pool in the market. Really in the top 1%, you're talking about hundreds of agents. So this might sound crazy, but we literally go through these massive lists and we manually review the quality of the agent's listing inventory. We go into like how good their photos are. Do they load enough photos? We go to their personal sites. Like, do they have a solid brand? Do they pay attention to the things that matter that most people? And then we literally just onboard the 20 or 30 that we want in that market, and we just bring them into the system, and then we're able to deliver a lot of value to the agents that we really, really want. We're not really a platform for every agent.
Right.
The agents on our platform have obtained a pretty large degree of market dominance,
Right.
whether it's in a zip code or an entire city or even a neighborhood. They're one of the dominant agents within their particular farm area.
Yeah, I actually really like that, because for myself, I partner up with a lot of different real estate agents across Southern California, and my goal is to help them to build their business up so that they are a higher producing, top producing real estate agent. So I love that there are, that there's a platform that will basically reward that effort and that behavior, because you're saying all the things that I'm telling all of my clients. You have to pay attention to the details. You need to focus on what your strategy is on your social marketing. You need to think about what the images, the branding look like. Yep. How are you coming across to the consumer? Are you a thought leader? All of these things that really truly matter. And so to hear that there's platforms that are driving leads or future opportunities for business your direction based on those efforts, that's huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it really works. I mean, somewhere between 12 and 14% of our leads convert and they turn into a finished sale. And that's really, really rare.
Yeah. And I think it's like maybe 3% on most of the other referral networks. Some go up to 7%.
Yeah. And 80% of the referrals that we make are home sellers. So there's even an added value of that. So a lot of times we actually bid. Right now is a really tough time to be a buyer in general. It's probably it's so hard. I just sold 2 houses personally, and we had 8 and 9 offers on each one.
Yeah,
I mean,
bidding
it's
wars
just
like crazy.
it's a tough time. And, it's interesting because our platform has a tendency to serve the user that has the most pain. So 10 years ago, we were just helping a lot of home sellers.
Right.
And recently, even though we try to bid against the traffic because it's hard to monetize a buyer lead right now, if that's what um, it's it's a tough time to be a home buyer. You really have to, you either have to wait or you have to pay up. That's really, in most of the US, that's really how it is.
Yeah, but that being said, I mean, if you're looking at the economy as the reasons why people are making a
Oh
shift,
yeah.
it's okay. Here we have this new situation that we don't know how long we're going to be in this new normal.
Yep.
And so a lot of people are saying, hey, I don't like the current existing living conditions I'm in. So I'm willing to do what I need to do in this market to upgrade because I don't know how long I'm going to be teaching from home, working from home,
Yeah.
working out at home. And so that space matters. So I don't know that it's necessarily a horrible time to be a buyer. I think it's just a different time to be a buyer.
I mean,
Right?
and you have the
Yeah.
advantage of historically low rates.
Yeah.
And that is like, for most people, that is a major, reason to be a buyer right now.
Yeah.
If you're looking to buy something and hold it for 10 years, it's always a good idea. Really,
Right.
always, because it doesn't matter what happens. If interest rates double or triple, you're locked in, you're good, you're going to be just fine. And, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this throughout your career. It's like you could have gone into Florida and you could have bought the most outrageously priced home at the time and overpaid because you're in the biggest bubble in real estate of all time. But if you just waited, you're fine, and that's the thing with so many investments. Your home, I have a hard time with the way that a lot of times people really talk about the investment feasibility. And your home is different. It's an investment, but the process should be taken really seriously. It's something you shouldn't want to move after 2 or 3 years unless you have a major life change. But it's a big decision, and as long as you stick with it, you really don't make mistakes in real estate if you have enough time.
Right. I mean, I think what I'm hearing you say is that as a person who's very data driven in general, you do your research and you do your homework before you make big decisions and moves. And so in creating a platform that helps utilize those same strengths, it's bringing that same sort of reliability and accountability to both the agents that are involved as well as the consumer that is using the platform.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's amazing. So as far as agents are concerned, does it cost for them to be on the platform?
So an agent will pay us if and when they successfully close a transaction with us through a referral fee. So technically, it doesn't cost them anything to do business with us. If they're successful, then it does at that point. It would cost them something.
Right.
The upside to that is some of the ad systems and whatnot that we bid on are extremely I mean, they're really complex, and the advantage of being able to cap your acquisition costs on the client are a big deal. Especially a lot of these really large teams, they've kind of already grabbed all the low hanging fruit. They're maximizing their personal networks and they get a lot of referrals within the community because of their involvement.
Right.
But when you start to try to reach and grab market share, it gets really expensive. It's exponentially expensive the bigger that you choose to grow your brand and build your business.
Right.
And the advantage of a referral is that your acquisition cost is capped. So you will always be positive ROI on a referral as long as your back office expenses aren't outrageous. I don't have the advantage of capping my acquisition costs. So I'm always at the mercy of, ad costs, and a lot of my energy personally goes into that.
So do you mind? So sometimes when I have guests on that are extremely brilliant like yourself, we start talking and using jargon that sometimes the consumer watching or the clients that are watching may not quite grasp. So can you break down for those that are watching, when you talk about the acquisition costs, can we kind of just let's do like layman's terms so we can help everyone out?
Sorry. So anytime a business decides to grow and to use advertising, they run into expenses. If you have an ad campaign running, you're going to pay for that. And then so your acquisition cost would per conversion or per customer would just be essentially the total cost that you paid for your advertising divided by the number of customers that you received.
Exactly. And so with your platform, you are able to create a lower cost for them in that conversion process, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's very compelling. So it sounds, so if you're a real estate agent that is a highly producing real estate agent that's watching this rebroadcast or watching us live, keep this in mind as you take a look at the platform, because I know that all of you are always looking at ways that you can next level your game and find ways to really grow your market share, which is huge. You're speaking my love language right now when you talk about growing market share. So, okay. So now, as far as, can you share maybe a success story or two of agents that have been a part of the network and have had, some big bump in their market share by using the process?
There's about 18,000 agents on our platform. They're all, incredible within their own markets. It's really hard for me to dial in on one. I mean, off the top of my hand, there's a guy in Arizona. His name
I'll take the guy story.
His name is Bruno Arapovic. I didn't ever add anything to this guy's business, but he's just a monster. He's an individual agent. I think he did like 600 transaction sides last year.
Holy smokes. How many people are in his team?
It's just him, but he has back office. He has like 4 people. He is just
600 transactions.
I run into people like Bruno, for example, and Bruno's a friend. It's like I'll fly him and his family down, and we'll go do something. I met him out in California last year when that was okay. Now we can't fly.
Yeah, right.
So, but there's a few agents around the U.S. like that they're just incredible with engaging with the customer, and they're big problem solvers. And anytime I'm ever talking to an agent, I always my advice to agents, a lot of times they don't see it, but a lot of times it's their responsibility and role to be a problem solver. Like an example today, we made a couple referrals to 2 agents that were in the same Keller Williams office. And they started freaking out because they were like, oh my God, we can't compete with the agent, in the same office. That's not fair to them. And I just said, like, you guys are on the same team. Right. Why don't you just co-list the property? Right. And it was just like, all of a sudden they realized that, oh yeah, we are here to actually solve this user's problem, this home seller. Right. Let's just co-list the property. And it's like, that doesn't always just apply for the agent that happens to be sitting next to you. Right. It could be an agent at another company, and a lot of times when an agent sits down with a home seller, they're interviewing a couple agents.
Of course.
And there's a few agents out there that I know that'll say, I don't care who you want to list this house. Here's my skill set. I will team up with anyone. And those agents just crush it because they're problem solvers, they're cooperative, and they're there to get a deal done for the seller. Yeah. So when we see agents that are like that, and this didn't really answer your question at all, but that's the type of agent that really thrives within our platform.
Right. Well, and that's okay. I don't mind that the conversation kind of went a different direction because sometimes we excavate little nuggets of wisdom through dialogue. And so what I'm hearing is, I'm always sharing with my clientele, some of the things that you need to do to next level your game is figure out how am I doing something differently, and what am I bringing that's a unique value. And so reframing how you look at your business and thinking about your problem solving and how you are uniquely solving any issues that come up, and adding that to your pitch, adding that to your listing presentation, and then making that a part of your deliverables is huge. So,
Yeah.
I mean, hearing that from somebody like yourself who says, hey, these are the people that are creating massive success for themselves, I don't think that there's one real estate agent that would watch this that wouldn't appreciate that kind of information, because that really helps to power the engine. So
Yeah.
thank you. I really appreciate that. So let's do this. Let's, I'm looking at the time. Let's make a little bit of a pivot here and talk about from the user experience. So if I'm a homeowner or a home seller or buyer, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to, go and use the referral that I got from a family friend, or just go and look on Google and see what pops up. Let's talk about where Effective Agent comes in and how that process works. And let's kind of walk through that for the user.
Yeah. So especially, and this mostly relates to users that are in larger metros. So this is where this is extreme. So let's say Atlanta or somewhere, maybe Tampa, St. Petersburg, those markets, or Phoenix is a big market. You're talking about anywhere between 5 and 12,000 real estate agents in any of those given areas that can help a home seller or buyer with a transaction. And it's pretty likely that we know someone, most of a good portion of the people that come to us for help have actually already tried to work with someone that they knew.
Right.
And it's amazing what a difference it can make when you really just focus on the strengths of the agent and the agent's actual performance. It's a little bit easier in this market to be easy choosing an agent because it's such a strong market for sellers, especially.
Right.
Buyers, I think, actually, who usually have a tendency to do the least amount of due diligence about their agent, would be best served by a really powerful agent, strong agent right now.
Of course.
But if you're talking about a personal referral, sometimes those pan out, but it's so hard when you're talking about something it's such a big transaction. One of the reasons I got into this is because when I was really young, I worked in finance for an investment firm, and I would sit and I would look at like mutual fund prospectuses. And so I could look back and I could see how a fund had performed over the last 5 years, who the manager was, what the management fee was. I would have a relatively reasonable understanding of how well my money was going to perform over the next 5 years based on the past performance. And I just thought, like, why doesn't someone do this for real estate agents?
Right.
It's like we do these, we put so much work into finding the right investments and whatnot, but the right agent can make a big difference. And so your transaction outcome when you use data to inform the agent selection process is, on average, our agents beat what we would anticipate would be the sale price by about 5.7% on average.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, some cases it's more than that.
Sure.
And that's why you would want to use a system like ours to choose an agent. There are other good ways to find agents. The Realtor.com platform is really just a directory, so it's no different than anything else.
Right.
The sort features within their site really aren't sorting anything. They're really just scrambling the lists of agents. Referrals are reasonable, but I would say anyone taking a personal referral about an agent, they should definitely do their own due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
Hit Zillow, hit Realtor.com, see what types of homes they've sold. Make sure that they're actually active. You want an agent that's selling a house a month, at least. Larger teams, a lot of times you don't have that problem, but there is a really big problem right now with teams that aren't really teams. In our office, we try to avoid teams that are just trying to appear as teams, where you have people on the team that are functioning independently, but they're really just pooling transactions. So we can identify that pretty quickly, but the average person wouldn't know that. So
there's all sorts of different variables that you're pulling in
so
together
many.
to create. And here's the thing. There are so many, like you said, there's so many different networks and platforms you can use to make informed decisions for yourself. And it's a matter of deciding, if we're talking about, a real estate agent, and you're trying to decide, like, where is it best for me to amplify my business and help my brand reach the most consumers that are connected to my style, my expertise. You take into considerations the platforms that align with you. Like you said, your platform will not be for every single agent. It's going to be a specific agent. It's going to be someone who's been in the industry producing and is consistently doing so and is dialed into their strategy, their offerings, et cetera, et cetera. So if you are an agent that's watching this broadcast live or rebroadcast and you feel that you meet the needs of that, I'm going to go ahead and put down below the website here for Effective Agents so that you can go and check it out and see if this is a good fit for both sides, so that there's an opportunity for success to help grow market share and increase those conversions. And as far as if you are a consumer and you're looking at making a decision, I mean, hey, it is not easy to make decisions. I mean, there's so many different things out there that we all think we're the master at Googling. I mean, I think I might be, but but everybody thinks that they're the Google master, and the reality is that there is so much more involved than just what we see showing up on a scroll. Not to mention how your search is saved based on your own behaviors and et cetera, et cetera. So knowing that there is a platform available that takes any bias out and is putting very specific and succinct parameters in place to analyze and create success, that's pretty exciting. So if that resonates with you as a consumer, definitely check out Effective Agents. Kevin, I really appreciate that you took the time to chat. I know, as the founder and creator and clearly the brainchild behind this whole platform, I know that getting on camera and doing these kind of things is not your favorite thing. So thank you for being.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's fun.
But it's really fun to get a chance to talk to somebody whose mind works in the way that yours does, and to share with all of us the interesting things. Now, we were talking backstage a little bit about some future things that are coming up. So I won't bring any of that up, but I would like to say that there's some very cool things in the works with this gentleman here, and we'd love to have you come back once those things come to fruition, because it's pretty exciting to see what's happening.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join Ready, Set, Thrive today. And everybody, if you can take some time to either subscribe to this broadcast on our YouTube page, which is right here. I'm going to go ahead and put that up here. Or you can always tune in on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard. Thank you for joining Ready, Set, Thrive. And thank you, Kevin, for joining us today. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.